Is your relationship spiraling out of control, heading in a negative downward direction, and you are losing control, or it feels like that? Here are 3 things that I'm just going to throw at you that will guarantee the destruction of your relationship. The first thing is emotional instability, a lack of emotional intelligence, a lack of emotional maturity, a lack of emotional stability. Not having emotional stability is just so detrimental. I cannot emphasize this enough, because emotional stability is it's like a flame to a moth. For women especially, they love a man who is emotionally stable. Now, this would be ideal if a woman was also emotionally stable, but for the most part, emotional instability is going to wreak havoc. Emotional immaturity is going to wreak havoc. You want an emotionally stable and mature person. This means whenever you're tackling a very difficult situation, including the downfall of a relationship, it's not even really a downfall per se. You want to handle that with grace. You want to handle that with respect. You want to handle that with integrity. You want to challenge that head on with the knowing and what's the word I'm looking for? Like this confidence where you are able to tackle the problem and it's not really a big deal. You know how you drive a car these days? It's completely effortless, right? You don't really think about it too much. It's second nature. When you are able to tackle problems in a state of being where it's second nature, this makes solving problems so much easier. So you want to be a really good problem solver for any type of challenge, especially in your relationship, because a lot of the time we're not taught how to solve relationship problems. The governments of the world and social media is full of various destructive opinions, so probably avoid a lot of TikTok and YouTube unless you know the channel is excellent. So wanting to be a really good problem solver doesn't also mean that you can just jump straight in and just fix all of her problems. It's not even suggesting that she, or he, if you're a lass, is the problem. The other person necessarily isn't the problem. And here is the second major issue that will guarantee the destruction of a relationship. Not taking any accountability. Not taking any accountability or responsibility is, really bad. We can point the finger at the other person and attribute fault and assign blame to them and say, look at all their contributions to the problem. How would they feel? How would you feel if they kept doing that to you? It's not going to feel good. It's not going to feel good to be constantly pointed your finger at and told you are this bad person. You are such a disgrace. Imagine, I like to think of this. It's like, imagine if you were just an innocent child and you have 2 parents. One parent says, you are a disgraceful child. How dare you live in my house? You shit in my toilet. You eat my food. And then the other parent says, this child deserves kindness. This child deserves mercy for his mistakes, etc. Which parent are you going to gravitate towards more? And you might say to yourself, I'm not a parent in the relationship. I'm not supposed to be a parent for my partner. You should it doesn't matter. Just be kind. Just take accountability. Acknowledge your mistakes. Focus on your mistakes. And some of these mistakes are so subtle and subconscious that it's really hard to pinpoint some of these sometimes. One of the biggest mistakes is you're probably sitting in a narrative and you've immersed yourself in that narrative thinking that the other person is bad. They're avoidant, and if your brain literally puts a lens in front of you and sees them as avoidant or anxious attachment or whatever, that's exactly what you're going to see. But if you get rid of that lens, if you remove yourself from that immersive experience, you're going to see there's going to be things to the story that you might not have ever seen before, that they're in fact not anxious attachment. In fact, that's an oscillation, or that's a period in time where that person may have exhibited that. Maybe the best and the most attractive thing you can do to ignite desire in the other person to come back towards you if they've left is to just remain silent, give them time, give them space, and let them be without you, etc. Because if you don't and you start getting upset and angry, this is the third mistake that I'm leading into, is you're constantly getting angry and you're constantly getting frustrated and you are immersed in these stories that you tell yourself. And these stories, they're like feedback loops. They just spin faster and faster and faster and faster. And you really immerse yourself in these stories that you're telling yourself. In your own head, you'll sit on the couch. You will sit on your couch and you will start to feel miserable out of nowhere very quickly. And then out of nowhere, you'll be thinking, I should send this, I should say that. to my partner, etc. And it's not going to end well because the story in which you've immersed yourself in probably isn't true. If anything, it's like maybe 1% true. And that's what the brain does. It likes to, because of the confirmation bias in the brain, it wants to believe whatever narrative you've immersed yourself in, it wants to believe that the narrative exists. So it sends like sonar pulses to come back and want to believe that, and it will try to delete anything that is otherwise, which is really dangerous. Because what if she's not really cheating? What if she's just being super platonic? You know, women tend to be like that. They tend to be wanting a lot more platonic friendships, and it could lead to sexual relationships, but it also might not. Are women really that stupid that they're going to just sleep with every single man that she sees? If you believe that story, then that's the story that you're going to see. But if you believe that your partner, she's smarter, she knows what she's doing, she has a good reason for what she does, especially if she's leaving you, for example. And the reason she's probably leaving you is because there is something that she's making her very unhappy, or she's not comfortable yet. There's something holding her back. And we need to be curious. We need to be investigating this in a very compassionate manner, very empathetically, because if we lack empathy, if we're not compassionate, if we're not curious, and we're not understanding, this is going to be super dangerous, especially if we're angry, frustrated, can't handle the problem at hand, can't deal with the pressure. It's like this whole situation is just like no big deal. Endure it. And this isn't about gaslighting yourself. This isn't about ignoring potential things that your partner may be doing. It's really about redirecting your focus to where it is needed and where it's actually going to start helping you out. So that way you can basically starve off the so-called negative and you can start feeding the positive, the things that can construct. And this is why I say avoid most dating and relationship advice if you can, because only 1% is contextual. If you look at Homath's recent video, he talks about how you will have beliefs that are not your own installed in you in the blink of an eye because you've been doom scrolling TikTok or YouTube or whatever. You will start to download beliefs that are not your own, and they will be like seeds, and they will grow and they will come into fruition, and they're just going to wreak havoc. So you want to avoid anything that's going to sprout seeds in your mind that are going to cause negative outcomes. That's it for this video. If you found that helpful, I recommend a few more books if you'd like to read up on, like if this is like an emergency situation, I highly recommend The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. This will help you out understanding human nature. I also recommend reading The Let It Go Theory by Mel Robbins. That's probably a very good emergency read to just really calm your nervous system down. By the way, you want to make sure before you make any decisions, crucial decisions throughout your entire relationship, going uphill or downhill, no matter what, make sure that your nervous system is always relaxed first. And another book I would recommend reading would be How to Be Bulletproof by Evie Pomporis. That's a great book. I would also recommend reading Crucial Accountability. I don't remember the author's name, but that's a great book as well. And some people might even, if you are into manifestation, might say being Delulu is the Solulu. And so, yeah, if you look at some of these books, it's just a great sort of like scratch the surface type of thing. But you want to be in that state of being where it's just effortless, it's not a big deal, that what you're facing, yes, it hurts like crap, probably. But why does it hurt like crap? Keep asking yourself, why, over and over and over again. Keep on digging deeper and deeper and deeper into the darkest skeletons of the abyss and see what you find. Imagine yourself in your partner's shoes. Be compassionate towards them. Understand that they have a good reason in their own mind for what they're doing.